Enough is enough. I have reached my limit. The dumbest sports card purchase in history just happened, and this can't go on any longer. I'm done being silent. This ends now. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Market Movers video. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and this week I'm in the mood to rant. I have been waiting for a week since the Fanatics Collect Premier Auction in March ended to get some things off of my chest, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not particularly happy. This week, you're gonna get an uncharacteristically snarky, sarcastic, sardonic version of Teapot because I've got to set the record straight on some things. And I gotta make a few disclaimers. First of all, that auction lineup was one of the best I've ever seen. I watched it into the wee hours of the morning, a lot of fun, a lot of amazing cards, and some stuff that absolutely made sense in the broader landscape of sports cards to purchase. But there were some things that absolutely made no sense at all. I've spent the last 5 years making videos, trying to help educate, learning myself along the way, writing a dummies book about the do's and don'ts of card collecting and investing, and it just seems like it's fallen on some serious deaf ears. So this week we've got to get into it, and frankly, at the end of the day, it's your money. It's all of your money. I don't care what you do with your money, but I do want you to try to be smart if at all possible. And I don't want people to get the wrong impression about the wrong kinds of cards. I'm concerned that there's some absolute garbage, and I'm going to use that word, being pumped, manipulated, and hyped to the moon when it has no business being there. So we're going to get into this week, and I'm going to take you through 5 chapters of rant. Let's get into it. Chapter 1, the dumbest sports card purchase in history. National Treasures. Panini's been making it for years. It goes back to the beginning of Panini cards for basketball and football. It's synonymous with the RPA. And many people go after those RPAs and have paid big money over the years. But there's a problem. Panini has been slowly reducing the quality of the cards in that product year over year. And we have reached the height of the worst possible purchase of any card. And it is the Victor Wembanyama National Treasures 1/1 Logo Man patch card that was part of this most recent Fanatics Collect Premier Auction. I've got a little excerpt here. This was part of the marketing spiel on Fanatics' website. They always have a little description on their Premier Auction cards. And it says, when it comes to the most important early career cards of the game's best performers, few printings hold more weight than a Logo Man. Such cards have become some of the most coveted collectibles in sports card history, with editions featuring the game's finest players and that iconic piece of material skyrocketing in value and importance. So you see this card and you think, yeah, that's actually true. Logo Man cards are among the most sought after, if not the most sought after cards in the entire sports card hobby across basketball, baseball, and the NFL shields in football. So this card hits the market. The bidding begins, it goes on for a month, and it ends on March 20th with a $528,000 sale on this card. That is the second most expensive Victor Wembanyama card ever sold after his Prism Choice Nebula. It is the 4th most expensive ultra modern card sold. Okay, let that sink in. This is a big price tag. Must be a super awesome card, right? If it were, maybe the price is justified, maybe. I'm gonna walk you through something. This is something I've been thinking about for a long time. This is something I'm going to have available as a cheat sheet. And if you want access to this cheat sheet, we'll link it in the notes down below, and you can help evangelize because we've got to educate the masses on relic cards, on memorabilia cards. So what I've done here, hopefully most of you are familiar with the tier ranking system, S being the absolute best, all the way down to E. And I've split this into a significance column with the type of event or game-worn nature of the patch or jersey, and on the right side, the different examples. So I'm going to take you through this. It'll be very easy to understand. S tier, game-dated, game-worn, historic moments. Think about something that came from Shohei Ohtani going 50-50. Ronald Acuna going 40-70, somebody making their debut into the NBA or NFL or MLB, winning a championship, hitting a buzzer beater in a big game to go off for 82 points if you had that, or 81 points from Kobe Bryant. Those types of things. Game dated, used by the player, part of their jersey from a historic moment. A tier would be game dated, game worn, ordinary moments, just any particular game, but they tell you what game it came from and the player actually wore it. B tier, game worn, game used, no description about which specific game or event, but it was for sure authenticated and worn by that player. Significant event worn, what I would call this is like a rookie photo shoot. They're taking all their pictures, they're posing with the ball, they're doing all those things, and the player actually put the jersey on for that event. D tier, player worn. Some of you may have seen the photos over the years of these player worn events where they basically have them just put on these quadruple XL jerseys for 2 seconds and then pull them off so that they have more material to cut up and put into these cards. They never used it. They were never in the game. They never sweat in that material. It is not an authentic piece of memorabilia. It's just something that they happen to make some kind of contact with. And I've actually heard that they'll send these players these jerseys and say, just touch it to your arm and then you can set it down and then we can legally get around it and say that it was player worn. That's D tier, and it's trash. And E tier, the worst of the worst, the most pointless thing on earth that should actually just flat out never be in a card, except maybe if it's a design aesthetic element, is not from any particular player. It's literally not from anybody. It's never been on a player. It just came right off the shelf. And also in this tier would be manufactured relics, things that are just made for the card. They don't actually have any significance. They're not a real relic card from any player. On the right side, here's some examples of jersey patch types that are S to E tier. So all the way in the top tier, it's the Logo Man. You see the NBA Logo Man, the MLB Logo Man, the NFL Shield, and most recently, I would agree that, with Michael Rubin, the best innovation that we've seen in sports cards, the MLB debut patch, which is coming to football and basketball in the coming year and change. That is the tier that most people gravitate toward the most. The Logo Man is very sought after, as Fanatics had written up on their website. A tier, these are like your super chunky patches, pieces of the team's logo, pieces of the team's mascot, maybe multiple colors, and this is actually a patch. This is what I would call a patch. Not a jersey, but a piece of a patch from the jersey somewhere, part of their lettering, things like that. Also in this tier, even though I technically don't really agree with this, laundry tags, not my favorite thing. Some people really gravitate toward them though, and things like a Nike swoosh or other logo emblems like that. That's A tier. B tier would be any 3 or 4 colored piece of jersey or patch that shows up kind of more like, geometrical patterns, typically just parts of the jersey somewhere. These are all 3 color very clearly. They're colorful, they show up, and they look nice. C tier would be 2 color, similar story, but 2 color. D tier are the ones that frankly drive me crazy, where people say 2 color patch, because as you can see, there's this little stripe, like it's barely in there. There's this little piece of color. It's a big white napkin patch with like a strip of yellow or red or orange on the edge of it. And E tier is just what we call napkin jerseys. Napkin jerseys, just a white, it looks like there's something, a napkin in there, a single color. So these are the 2 factors that we think about, obviously in addition to the specific player, when we're looking at jersey, patch, relic, memorabilia cards, whatever you like to call them. But it doesn't quite stop here. I put this into a matrix. So I've got it from game dated, game worn, historic, all the way down to not from any player. And across the top here, I have it all the way from the Logo Man to the napkin patch. And I've rated these. And in the top left, game dated, game worn, historic, Logo Man would be S tier, S plus, the best possible thing that you can get, which includes those MLB debut patches in those cards because they're a rookie card. It's part of their debut, arguably the most important part, of anybody's career, maybe until they win a big championship or something. So that's S tier. And then we kind of move across the list. Game dated, game worn, patches, S tier. 3 color, I said A plus. 2 color, A across the board, all the way down. Use this as a reference because it's not always so linear. And I feel pretty confident in this matrix that this is how most people would view these things. So if we come all the way down to the bottom, not from any player and a Logo Man, that would be a D minus. If we go all the way over to the right, I just suggest all these cards should be burned where it's just a napkin patch inside of a card and it's not from any particular player. And then the manufacturer has the audacity to call it a hit when you pay $200, $300, $500, $800 for that particular box and you get one of these cards out of there. It's not cool. It's trash. And honestly, I'm just going to say it. It's what Panini does. Topps very rarely does that, if ever. They almost always have game worn, or very often have game worn. Now, I will say it is a lot easier to get game worn jerseys and patches from baseball players because they play 162 games, not just 16 or 17 games like football or 82 games like the NBA. But the materials are out there. It's a cost savings thing. It's cutting corners. And it's just bad for the people who are paying top dollar to open these products and frankly be deceived into thinking that they got something good, or in many cases they think they got a game-worn jersey piece. So let's switch over back to the Wemby. $528,000. Second most expensive Wemby card ever sold. So surely this logo man must be that top left corner, right? It must be game dated, game worn, historic moment, part of his debut, something else really cool like that, right? No. The enclosed officially licensed material is not associated with any specific player, game, or event. It's not from anybody. It's not from anything. Victor's probably never even seen it in person. This is nothing. It's a nothing card that comes out of what has essentially become a nothing product, especially in 23-24, because Panini didn't have the autograph rights for most of these key athletes in that rookie class, Victor Wembanyama included, which is why there's actually no autograph on this card. There's supposed to be an autograph right here where it says 23-24 rookie, but they're not allowed to get Victor's autograph. And apparently they couldn't find a way to get a game-worn piece of a logo man into the card either. And somebody just paid $528,000 for this card. That is nothing. So zooming in, that is a D-. I would put that in the D- category. I would not, I'll get into it later, but I wouldn't pay anything for this card. I wouldn't even want this card. I would want nothing. I didn't want to ever see this card. It makes me very, very angry. So back to it, typically you find these cards where they have an autograph on it, and you can see this has been part of the cheapening of the products over time as well. Sticker autos. I'm not going to get into sticker autos. I've covered that in the past. I could do a whole other matrix on the types of autos from a tier, top tier, S tier, down to E tier. But sticker autos on a premium product, on $1,000 or $2,000 box of cards with a single pack inside where you get one rookie hit, one rookie RPA in the box, even getting a sticker auto would be very disappointing and frustrating. There's no auto. And this patch just came from who knows where. We have no provenance of this logo man. It's literally nothing. So the last thing I'll point out in that regard is these are those manufactured relics. This is a whole bunch of Aaron Judge manufactured relic pieces that I think Topps is moving away from now after probably a lot of feedback, which by the way, they're listening to the collector and they're trying to prioritize what the collector wants in their trading card experience. But these were always in the blaster boxes for Topps flagship year over year. You could pull out these cards. And this one here says, you have received a player jersey number medallion card from 2022 Topps Baseball Series 1. And that card sold for $6.39. In my opinion, that's about what that Victor Wembanyama card should be worth. It is not a $1,000 card. It is not a $10,000 card. It's definitely not a $500,000 card. I think it's a $6 card. I think that's how much I think of that card. Let's take a look at something else that is actually an amazing card. How about the Mercury Victor Wembanyama, which actually has the rights to his autograph, which actually has a game-worn patch, and it's game-dated. So this one says the material embedded in this card was worn by Victor Wembanyama on January 29, 2024 during his rookie season. And this is an authenticated autograph with a Nike swoosh kind of custom inscribed by Victor onto the card. This is a one-of-one. This is a superfractor. This ticks all the boxes. This would be in the A+ category of that matrix. The one major drawback on this is that it's not licensed. It's not licensed, which means they can't actually have the Spurs logo on the card. But look, the design-wise, it's not like it's detracting from the card. It's not like not seeing the Spurs logo on this photo of Victor on the side of this card is taking anything really away from it. But that licensing does matter to the collector and to the investor long term. The other thing was Mercury was this new product that came out that it had no history, and they launched it to kind of financially capitalize on Victor Wembanyama. It's an awesome design. I think they would have been much better served putting this into a product like a Dynasty, or circulating some of these cards into other products, or doing something along those lines. And I expect that these would be much higher in price. Now, I know some of you are already down in the comments going, well, Jeff is paying you to pump his Mercury investment. He's not. Jeff and I have talked about his Mercury investment, and if you watch this channel long enough, you know I take every chance I can get to poke fun at Jeff when it's warranted, like the Desmond Ritter stuff and like other things. We don't always agree. He spends his money how he wants to. He takes risks. He wins a lot, which many of you don't acknowledge, if I'm being honest. But in this case, this has nothing to do with Jeff and everything to do with the fact that this card is immeasurable orders of magnitude better than that Logo Man, and it came in at 15% of the price of that D- rating card. It doesn't make any sense. Let's move on now to Chapter 2. Your 8-figure net worth is no match for Dick's. When I started the video, this may have been the card that many of you thought I was going to say was the dumbest purchase of all time. And I'll be honest, I was really with a raised eyebrow over this card the entire time. It is in that S tier. I put the S tier. In terms of relic cards, in terms of the memorabilia, this is the card. And this is the card of any player going forward who's going to have one of these cards. An 11-year-old kid pulled this, I believe, on Christmas Day this past year in 2024. And then they had to flee wildfires, and that's how the story goes. And ultimately, it makes it to PSA. It gets the 1010, PSA 10, Auto 10. It goes back to Fanatics Collect, and it hits auction, and it ended again this last Thursday. And we were all watching these bids come in, 500,000, 600,000, 800,000, and into the wee hours in the morning, it finally ended when the rest of the auction ended at $1,110,000, making this the most expensive pitcher card of all time by $510,000. The next closest, $600,000 for a PSA 10 Nolan Ryan rookie card. Now, obviously, there have been Babe Ruth cards that have sold for more than this, excluding Babe, who was obviously a hitter and a pitcher. This is the most expensive pitcher card of all time by a landslide. This is also the second most expensive modern baseball card ever sold after Mike Trout. So this is a big deal. And I've talked a lot about this on Cards on the Table 3 different times, on Spitballin' Cards. We've been talking about this a lot, and so has everybody. It's a pitcher card. And in that regard, it makes absolutely no sense. Skeens could go out, it's opening day. We were in opening week. And Skeens could go out and pitch his first time, and I hope this doesn't happen, but completely jack up his elbow. His teammate just had that happen, Jared Jones. There's multiple players this year who are already due for Tommy John, already, just because of spring training. Shoulder strains, other issues, obliques. Pitching is tough. The torque, the velocity, all of the different things take a toll on these players' bodies. And frankly, it seems like the era of the starting pitcher is slowly dying, and I hate that. I love pitching, and I particularly love starting pitching. It's my favorite position in baseball. But to put over $1 million into this card is mind-boggling. And it made me go, who actually bought this card? But before we get to who bought it, let's look at some of other Paul Skeens cards, including really probably his 2 other best cards. One being what has historically been the best card for any baseball player, their Bowman Chrome First Prospect Superfractor Auto. It's always a mouthful, but that is historically the best card for any given player for over a decade. And in this case, you can see that that card sold for $123,000 last September at Golden. It actually sold like 4 or 5 months before that when it was first pulled in the $80,000, $82,000 range. But this is the more recent sale. Somebody made a cool $50,000 on that card by putting it back up for auction in the same calendar year. In addition, his rookie Superfractor Auto from Topps Chrome. This is from Topps Chrome Update. Also one of a player's best cards, if not their second best card historically. $112,000. So both of those within the historical precedence category for pitchers shatter all the records. And I'm going to get into that a little bit in a minute. But look at the price gap between this MLB debut patch auto and the next closest card, the historical best card. It's 10x. It's almost 10x for the same card, like 9x, I guess we would say. That's massive. So what does this mean for the MLB debut patch going forward? Is it just because it's Skeens, or are we going to see this going forward? Is there going to be more and more separation between those 2 cards? This one is very, very interesting to think about. So back to what you could buy and the most expensive cards of all time, and this is where the eyebrows really raise. This is a graphic from our Instagram, from the Market Movers Instagram, showing this was when the card was at $840,000. Obviously, we know where it finished. You want a Tom Brady Contenders rookie ticket auto, $198,000. You want a Jordan PSA 10 rookie card, $283,000. Actually, one just ended for $204,000, I think, in that premier auction. $420,000 for a PSA 8 Gaudy Babe Ruth, and the list goes on and on. When we talked about this on Cards on the Table a few weeks ago, I went through the most notable, greatest pitchers of all time in this modern era and forward, 90s and forward. Greg Maddux, $7K. Randy Johnson, $10,000. Roger Clemens, $23,000. Pedro, $7. Glavine, $3. Verlander, $26. Scherzer, $6. Halladay, $5. Smoltz, $4. And Clayton Kershaw, $123,000. Very interesting. You could have had all of those pitchers' most expensive cards, all of them, for a total of $215,000. Or you can have Paul Skeens' card for $1.11 million. That's the part that I can't wrap my head around it. I've been trying. Then we find out, though, the winner of this auction was Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods. We now have businesses buying sports cards in monthly premier auctions. And these were the reactions when we rolled it out on our Sports Card Investor Instagram. Jeff, okay. Curious their reasoning for this. Gary V said, interesting. And then we see Dr. Collectible saying great business expense. The great curator saying it's a marketing expense. And as people started to think about this, it was like, wow, can they fully expense this right away? Are they going to depreciate this over time? How does this work? And basically what we found out was that their plan is to put this into the Dick's House of Sport in Pittsburgh, near the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they're going to put this on display, which to me then suggests, yes, this is a marketing expense. This is something that they can say, this is a draw people into our business. So I'm not going to read through this. This is from ChatGPT because I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with Dick's House of Sport. But this gives you a little bit of summary that essentially says they've got rock climbing walls and all kinds of active things and batting cages. This is like a Bass Pro Shop, but for specific sports. You know that Dick's is obviously selling all that equipment and apparel. So they're going to use this to draw people in and to hopefully, on their side, launch more into the collectible space. Now, fun little tinfoil hat moment. Dick's sells sports cards. They sell sports cards right now. You can go into Dick's and up by the cash register, they sell sports cards. So some people are wondering, is this a way that Dick's is trying to say, hey, Topps, hey, Fanatics, we'd like to have a lot more allocation of these sports cards while they're super hot and while that industry is growing and it's tough to get enough supply to keep our customers happy? We're going to go ahead and pay $1.11 million for this card that you've been parading around with one of your most paradable athletes in baseball, and get some spotlight and get some national coverage, national news, sports media, all talking about this. Little quid pro quo, a little we scratch your back, you scratch ours. We'll see. We'll see if Dick starts getting promoted by Fanatics, if they start getting more allocation. Who knows if that's one of the motivators or not, but frankly, it would make a lot of sense. And sometimes that is how it works. A lot of manufacturers will say, you need to sell this stuff that nobody wants and sell out of it. And then if you do that, we'll give you more of the good stuff. So we'll see how it plays out with Dick's House of Sport. Let's jump back to this pitcher conversation. This is Paul Skeens. This is his Topps Chrome Gilded Collection Auto Superfractor 1 of 1. So now this is part of the problem, in my opinion, with all these different Topps Chrome variation products now is that they all have superfractors in them. And frankly, it's too many superfractor autos now. But even this one, which is not his flagship Topps Chrome or Topps Chrome Update superfractor auto, it's from Gilded, just did $29,400 in that same auction last week. These are Justin Verlander's two most expensive sales. $21,500 for his Superfractor rookie card. This is granted not his auto, but this is a Superfractor. And then here's his Bowman Chrome. This is his Bowman First Red Refractor auto. And this card recently sold for $18,700. Now there was a sale of it, I believe, in 2022 for like $24,000, but this is more recent. So just comparing apples to apples, Justin Verlander, one of the three best pitchers of this past generation with Scherzer and Kershaw, and probably a top 20 pitcher of all time. And you've got a guy who won Rookie of the Year and is good, who just sold not his best card for more than Justin Verlander's two most expensive cards. It doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense. Go buy the Justin Verlander. Who's buying this card and why? Where does it go from here? I just don't see the upside. I don't see how these cards aren't going to absolutely have the bottom fall out of them over time. Now, the other thing that this might be impacting this Skeens sale, like I said, is the MLB debut overall. And here we have this Jackson Holiday. This is his debut card, also sold on March 20 in that same auction. Like I said, it was loaded. $198,000. Now, there's some backstory here that I'm not going to fully get into of somebody who people are accusing of funny business and manipulation, who was hounding a Baltimore Orioles like super fan Facebook group and saying, I want this card, I want this card, I want this card. It would be my grail, my personal PC grail. And then he acquired it. And then like 2 months later, a month later, put it up for auction and sold it for $198,000 with a whole bunch of promotion, including calling Jackson Holiday the Tom Brady of baseball. So people got pretty cranky about that, as the internet people do. But this card is the second most expensive MLB rookie card now that we have seen sold after that Skeens. And this is the third most expensive rookie card, or first, that we've seen since 2017 product. So meaning anything that's 2017 Topps or Bowman going forward, the third most expensive sale after this ridiculous Jason Dominguez Superfractor auto and a Julio Rodriguez Bowman Chrome first red auto. So rising ship rises, rising tides rises all ships. And in this case, it seems like these MLB debuts are going to keep rising. In fact, a couple of teammates of Jackson Holiday did pretty well last month in February. Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad sold for $49,000 and $48,000 respectively, and Junior Caminero sandwiched right in between back in December for $66,000. So these cards are very, very, very popular. I had hopes of owning one day when they were first announced. It's probably not going to happen now. Even I'm not going to pay like $5,000 for some scrubby pitcher who's never even going to make it into the bigs to be a competitor. But these cards are very, very popular. This impact, there's a huge ripple. And if I bring it back to Dick's purchasing this card, at first I was kind of like, I don't know, annoyed isn't the right word, but just like, really? Like, really? Is this really happening? We're now getting businesses buying cards? But the fact that they are going to show it off, the fact that they are going to expose it to the general sports fan inside of their shop, I actually don't hate it. The more I think about it, the more I actually don't hate it. What I really would like to know is who was the runner-up. Who was the runner-up on that? Was that some private collector? Was it somebody who just thought this is a slam dunk? And how many of these people bidding on these cards actually even know anything about what they're doing, as opposed to just having a boatload of money and being told, hey man, you got to get in on this action? I really would like to have more insight into that. Maybe someday I'll get some insider info from one of these auction houses about that. But it's really tough for me to wrap my head around. Chapter 3. I like perfection. I want perfection, even when it's imperceptible, and especially when it's somebody else's opinion. All right, one of the things that I have ranted about the most, if I've ever ranted in the past, is grading and the discrepancy between PSA 10 and everything else, whether it's a PSA 9, a raw card, a BGS 9.5, an SGC 10, a CGC 10, a whatever 10, a tag 10, the price discrepancy is wild. And we saw the most perfect example of this insanity on this auction with a PSA 10, Auto 10, Shohei Ohtani, Bowman Chrome rookie card, gold refractor, numbered to 50, on-card auto, that sold for $204,000. There's just one problem. The same exact card, the same variation, with the same auto, with the same everything, in a BGS 9.5 True Gem Plus, meaning 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, Edges 10, with a Beckett 10 auto, sold for $96,000. Less than half of the PSA 10-10 for one of these ultra-rare Grail Ohtani cards, one of the most iconic sports cards of the last decade. And it went for $204,000 compared to $96,000. I don't get it. I don't get it. And the first thing I want to talk about is opportunity cost. So you're talking about a difference of $108,000. So what else could you have for $108,000 just from this last PWCC auction, just from that premier auction? If you said, I want to spend $108K tonight on something plus this sick Ohtani BGS 9.510 True Gem Plus. You could have had Mookie Betts 2014 Bowman Chrome first, gold refractor, PSA 1010, Pop 2, on-card auto, gold, as well as Juan Soto's orange Bowman First BGS 9510, as well as Jackson Churio's red Bowman Chrome auto, numbered to 5 BGS 9510 auto. All three of these cards. You could have had all three of these cards and still the Ohtani Gold in a BGS 9510. Or you like goats. You like to collect goats. How about this dual exquisite number pieces of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, both number 23, obviously, on-card auto, serial numbered to 23. This is a PSA authentic, but this is a highly sought-after card, did over $100,000. Or you could have one of the most iconic golf card in history, the Tiger Woods SP Authentic Auto Gold, numbered to 100, on card in a PSA 10, the best possible grade for this Tiger Woods card, plus the Ohtani BGS 9510. You like football? I would have sure liked to have these two cards. Barry Sanders, especially the one on the left. I love that card with the lion in the background and the scope effect. PSA 8 PMG and a PSA 8 red PMG, two of the most iconic 90s insert or parallel sets and two of the most valuable Barry Sanders cards out there. Could have had both of those. You like hockey? How about Alexander Ovechkin's glossy Young Guns? This card you could have had for $72,000. This is serial numbered 210. You could have had this Connor McDavid limited logos from the Cup, $105,000. So at the end of the day, you could have had all those other cards, and what are you actually paying for when you get that PSA 1010? You're paying for the opinion of a stranger in a dark room, and you're paying for a 3-letter acronym with a number on a label. That's what you're paying for. And don't tell me it's buy the card, not the grade. You're buying the grade. You are buying the grade. Even if the eye appeal is better, you're buying the grade. And so when we debated this on Cards on the Table last week, Jeff kept saying, I like perfection. This is the card I would have liked to have. I would have bought the PSA 1010. But how much are you willing to sacrifice? And this is where I caught Jeff in a little gotcha. So if you were to come back to these two cards, $108,000, how much are you willing to sacrifice? And I said to Jeff, what if it meant you had to give up your entire Tim Tebow PC so that you could have that PSA 1010? Would you really trade in the BGS 95 Ohtani with the 10 auto for a 1010 plus your entire Tim Tebow collection that you've worked so hard to amass to have the best Tebow collection in the world? And he's like, well, when you put it that way, no. And that is my point. You got to run some of this stuff through that filter, through that lens. Now, there is a case that I'm going to make, and I'm going to play devil's advocate in a moment to figure out, okay, what would somebody really be doing here, and why would they do this? But just looking at these two cards, when I saw the social media reaction, there's a couple things I will say. The auto is better, both in quality, in clarity, fewer streaks, and centering on the card on the 1010. This I would not say is a 10 auto. I would say this should be a BGS 9.5 and that the auto looks more like a 9 to me. It's not egregious, but it is bleeding down a little bit here and there's a little bit of streaking. But it's an auto. It's an auto. And this is the part that I can't wrap my head around with grading, is these little imperceptible differences in cards that make people go, I'm willing to pay orders of magnitude. This card's 5% better, 4% better, 8% better, and therefore I'm willing to pay 800% more, 200% more, 100% more for these minuscule changes or differences in these cards. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not how I collect. So that's the kind of, people go there, and I will say, typically these 1010s, the best of the best over time, they do appreciate the best. They do command the highest price tag over time. But to me, it actually absolutely doesn't make any sense. So that brings us to chapter 4, the devil's advocate. Let's pretend to be rich for a day. So what if I were to take this Victor Wembanyama card that sold for $528,000 and just chop 3 zeros off of it? $528. So this is how you get yourself into the mindset of somebody who's got 6, 7, 8, 9-figure wealth, because those are the people buying these cards. It's not most of you watching this video, and it's certainly not me. So if this card was $528, would that make a difference? Would I want to buy this card? Heck no. No. Light this card on fire. It's a travesty to the hobby. Knowing the type of box with the cost of the box that this comes out of, this card should not exist. Consumers should be saying no to National Treasures right now. They should be saying no to this product. They should be saying no to a logo man that didn't come from anywhere, that some squirrel dragged into an office and somebody said, let's stick this in a card and trick people. Don't do it. Don't buy this card. Not for $528, not for $52, not for $5.28. Don't buy this card. The Paul Skeens at $1,110. Would I buy this card then? Maybe. If I just had unlimited money. But when I look at all the other stuff that I could have one of the most incredible collections literally in the world. I could have the Marshall Fogel or Ken Kendricks pitcher collection, the best pitcher collection in history. I could put all those cards together and then probably still buy all those other opportunity cost cards that I just laid out. Okay, what about these two? And this is the one that kind of made me go, You got the Ohtani 1010 and you got the 9510. If this was $204 versus $96, what would I do? Would I buy it? I'd say still no if it was for my PC. And if you've seen my PC cards and some of the times I've talked about these, for my collection, I do buy a lot of PSA 9s. I buy PSA 8s. I like raw. I don't like paying this premium for a 10 for imperceptible differences. I want more really cool cards. I like to have really cool stuff, not just a few cards. That's how I collect. But if I was doing this for investment, I probably would. And that was the part that was kind of eye-opening for me, to go just knock 3 zeros off and then what would you do? And I probably would buy the 1010. Not because I agree with it, but because the market perception is such that this is a superior card, even with the slightly better auto, and I probably would do it. So that's the kind of the devil's advocate case for these cards. Here's what I'll say. Perspective really matters. If you can afford it, you should absolutely go for it, if it's what you want. But that doesn't mean it makes sense. And that's the part that I think we need to continue to be better about as a hobby. I'm going to keep trying to do that. I'm going to keep talking about these things to try to help get people having those discussions amongst themselves so that everything just gets better. The quality of the cards gets better. More pressure is put on the manufacturers to deliver better quality product that will withstand the test of time, not have somebody wake up one day and go, well, there's all this cool stuff that Topps put out, including an MLB debut patch and all these other cards that were game worn. Why did you pay $528,000 in 2025 for this thing that wasn't from anything? It's just not going to go well. Closing out with Chapter 5, Other Nonsense. So I wanted to highlight just a few more things that just surprised me in the auction. So this is Luka Doncic's Prism Gold PSA 10. That is a PSA 10, best grade. Okay. That sold recently for $342,000. Not in this most recent Premier auction, but recently. In the Premier auction, this BGS 9 with a 10 autograph from Prism Gold, number to 10, Luka Doncic rookie card, did $37,200. This is a testament to the fact that the autograph in Prism is not what's sought after. This was a debate a few years ago. Somebody was saying, I would almost rather peel the sticker auto off of one of these cards and just have the card than have that sticker auto. And that's how a lot of people feel about sticker autos. This isn't what Prism's about, but that price multiplier between the grading discrepancy and the auto and it not being the true gold just blew me away. I don't know what to make of that. I'd love to hear down below if you think that makes sense. This one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, BGS 9.5, and Ja Morant, BGS 9.5, black golds out of Prism. Both the same card for two different players, 2018 and 2019. Shai finally getting some separation from Ja. Still cheaper than Luka. In some cases, significantly cheaper than Luka. $57,000, $30,000. The separation is finally happening, but personally, I don't think it's enough. I think Ja is who we know he is now at this point. I don't see him taking another leap forward into the MVP caliber in the league, whereas Shai is the front runner as of right now to win the MVP. This card, I think the gap should be even bigger. I would not have paid $30,900 for that Ja Morant card. And speaking of Shai, here we have a player-worn, numbered to 99, vertical, true National Treasures RPA, PSA 10. It is an on-card auto, serial numbered 299, that sold for $114,000. And here we have a game worn, also a two-color patch. Definitely not quite as nice of a looking of design on the card, if we're being honest, and not as good of a photo. But this is also a PSA 10, and this is serial numbered to 10, and this is a game-worn card. Flawless is the only game-worn product in basketball from Panini Products for rookie cards for RPAs, and it sold for $50,400. I don't get it. I don't get it. I do not get it at all. And speaking of other players and Luka and the price comparison, this is not a rookie card at all. This is Luka's 2023 Prism Black 1 of 1 in a PSA 9 that sold for $43,200. So a non-rookie, fifth year, black PSA 9 Prism 1 of 1 did almost as much as a rookie RPA, game worn, numbered to 10, on card auto, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Again, I don't really get it. So these were some of the other things that stood out to me. This auction was a lot of fun to watch. Kudos to Fanatics Collect for putting it together and for sourcing those cards and getting all of these things out there. And it's not meant to throw shade directly at anybody, but I really do want to hear from you down in the comments below. I want to know, what do you think of these price discrepancies? Does knocking 3 zeros off put it in perspective more and help you go, okay, I guess if I had just had that crazy money, maybe I would do this? I still wouldn't. In most of those cases, I still wouldn't. And to me, that's the ultimate test. So I got a lot of this data, obviously, from Market Movers. If you want access to this data, if you want to review these same types of crazy things or go dream of chasing these 6-figure cards, you can get Market Movers, download it from the App Store, go to marketmoversapp.com, and if you use promo code DIVE, you will get 2 weeks free and 20% off any plan for life. Thanks so much for watching. As always, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.